the 8th of August, Rabbi Furst, Pierke Avos.
Hello. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Hello. Good morning.
We got
Good,
you now.
good morning. Good morning. Okay. Just give me a couple of minutes. I'm still in the middle of just getting ready. Okay. Just hold on a minute. Okay. You're right.
Take your time.
Right there.
I suppose I could open a window.
Okay. Fine. Okay. Good morning again. Good morning. Hello. Good morning, Roy. Good to see you. Started
You too.
waiting. Okay. Okay, we're continuing our limud of Eicha. Okay, we left off in the third parak, right?
Maxime was like, oops, I'll have to go and get it. I didn't know we were going to.
Yeah, it's worth finishing.
Now, I gotta go get mine too.
Okay, very good. I think it's worth finishing.
All right, sorry.
Okay. So, we're in the third parak, in the 40th verse. Pasuk Mem.
Okay, let's see. Mem.
30. Gimel Mem. Oh, it's on top of the page.
You got it right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Nach Pesa Derachenu V'nach Korah V'nashuva Ad Hashem. Okay, so it means let us search and examine our ways and return to Hashem.
All right, so that's something, that's a message which is eternal, not just on Tisha B'Av, not just something which has to do with the Korban, but has to do with us, each and every one of us every day, that we always should look into our ways, analyze them, and should return to Hashem, meaning straighten our ways out in a way that will be more aligned with the things that Akash Baruch wants us to do, rather than the things that we're busy doing. That's a post Tisha B'Av message from Yirmiyah that's relevant all times. Okay, let's continue.
Nisa levanenu el kapayim el kel bashamayim. Okay, so lift our hearts. Says with our hands to Hashem in heaven.
All right, so what's that supposed to mean? How are we supposed to lift the hearts with our hands?
Yeah, that's weird.
So Rashi,
It says L is that really with or is it to?
El Hashem, to Hashem.
To our hands, El Kapayim.
Right. That
Here I've got, let us lift up our heart with our hands to God in the heavens.
yeah, so Rashi says something different. That translation is not really keeping with Rashi so much. Rashi says, "Kisha'anu noisines kapanu el shamayim." When we lift up our hands to Shemayim, meaning when people are they're excited in their prayers, they'll lift up their hands in their prayers, right? So when we lift up our hands in our prayers to Shemayim, nasan af lo aveinu imohem. Right, we should lift up our hearts too. Meaning we shouldn't be just going through the motions of making a lot of hand waving and fluttering with our hands and arms in the middle of our davening. Right, we should do it. Our hearts should be equally excited and equally desirous of crying out to Hashem.
I imagined it as with you give things with your hands. You put something in your hand and you give it to somebody. So I was thinking here it's similar, that we metaphorically put our heart in our hands and give it to Hashem. Maybe even as you're davening, this business here is giving your heart to Hashem, and you're thinking of it in that sort of way.
Right. That's a very very nice shot. It reminds me of what the Mishkiach in here in Torah Order of Zadel Epstein's of Bracha used to say was when a person's doing the on Sukkot and Numi during Hallel, he's waving the esrog, right, and the lulav and adas and the ravos, so he's bringing them back and forth, right? So you would be giving to Hashem, right? And by giving to Hashem, you get from Hashem. By giving to Hashem, you get from Hashem. That's a very similar concept. Yeah, very good. That's very good. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Nachnu fashanu u marinu ata lo salachnu. Let's see. We have transgressed, and rebelled, you have not forgiven us. You have not forgiven.
Right.
That's kind of a reversal of the sentiment.
In what way? Why is that?
Well, it was giving us an upbeat, we're gonna do tshuva, we're gonna lift our hearts up to you. And then it says, but we're sinners and you don't forgive us.
Right. Well, I guess we didn't do a sufficient tshuva. I mean, that was the whole point of the Churban Abayis, right? The basic Mikdash had to be destroyed because even if they had done some type of a tshuva, apparently they didn't. I'm not sure what kind of a tshuva they actually did. Only Hashem knows those things. But it wasn't sufficient to avert the Churban. Right? I mean that's it's just I think a statement of fact, right? That had we done the proper tshuva, which Hashem was waiting and willing and wanting us to do, definitely there would have been a change of history. Yeah, history wouldn't have occurred as it did.
What's the tense here? I've got here, we have transgressed and have rebelled. You have not pardoned us. And I've got, you have not, that's sort of, I don't know, what tense is that? You have not.
It sounds like past tense to me.
All right, well, whatever it is, it goes through quite a few Pesukim by the looks of it, just looking at it quickly. So is that the correct tense?
I believe so.
In English?
I believe
okay.
So.
All right, well, if that's the case, you have not pardoned. The first thing I thought of was that these are the reasons. This is the background to the first couple of sentences we did. Let us search and try our ways, turn back to the Lord. Let us lift up our heart with our hands, God from heavens. We have transgressed, we have rebelled. We've done things we shouldn't have done. So let us turn back and let us be accepted. You haven't pardoned us. But we want to we want you to do so.
Right. So yeah, correct. That's the past things which have been described in the Psukim are a result of this situation as well. The lack of tshuva and the lack of exoneration. So that's what led to the things that were described previously. Yeah, right. Okay, now it's gonna get more difficult also.
Yeah. Sakosa va'af va'tir defenu haragta lo chamalta. Okay, so you have enveloped yourself in anger, and you have pursued us. You have slain without mercy.
So yeah, that's that shows the extent of the good morning, man.
Good morning. Good morning. Shavuot.
Good morning, Mayor.
Morning, Mayor.
Good morning, Lou. Good morning, Roy.
We're in Yirmiyah. We're continuing in Yirmiyah. I'd like to try and finish it up. And we're in again the third parak in Yirmiyah, and in the 43rd pasuk Mem Gimel.
Okay, I might have to go get it. Okay, I'll be right back.
Are we able to say, to tell Hashem what he has felt? You have not pitied.
Right.
Do we
Yeah.
mean? Yeah.
That's the virtue of the Navi. The Navi has insights that normal people don't have insights to.
Uh-huh. Mhm.
Yeah, sure. It's one of the jobs of a Navi to give us insights into the things going on that we can't normally perceive or understand.
Right.
So
Well, how
So
does this
here-
work? The interaction between the Navi and Hashem. When the Navi is saying, you did this, you did that. So did Hashem say to the Navi, say, you did this, you did that?
that's right. Yeah, it's coming. It's a direct communication from the Baruch. Correct. Right.
But it's not the Navi talking to Hashem, so to speak. It's the Navi reporting what Hashem told him to say.
Yeah, that's the way I understand it. Yeah. It's worth trying to check out that the way to in the Sefer Derech Hashem from the Ramchal, the Moshe Chaim Sato, he has a section there on prophecy. And,
If,
could be-
sorry.
yeah, go ahead, Ray.
Oh, sorry, no, I interrupted, sorry.
It's okay, go ahead.
Right. If it wasn't for the capital Y in you, no, I was going to say that if it wasn't for the capital Y, the you could have been us. You have slain, you have not pitied. That's us, but it's but because it's a capital Y, then I understand the you is Hashem.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So which chapter are we in again?
The third chapter, pasuk 43.
Oh, I must Yirmiyah.
Eicha.
Excuse me, Eicha.
Oh,
Did I say Yirmiyah? I'm sorry.
yeah,
I'm
he
sorry.
said that's why I went out to get it.
I'm sorry. Forgive me, please. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
Okay, I'm with you now. Okay.
Okay. Sakosa ba bet anan lach me evor tefillah. You have wrapped yourself in a cloud that no prayer can pierce.
Right. This pasuk is a repetition in some ways of the previous pasuk we had. Where was it? We had a pasuk previously. The pasuk 8, the 8th pasuk, Shmona. Pasuk Ches.
Oh, he shut out my prayer?
Mm-hmm. Right. This is a compliment to that pasuk there.
Mhm.
sorry, which the 8th posik in this current chapter?
Yes. That's right.
Oh, I see, right. Okay, look at the wrong thing.
Apparently, sometimes the situation in a kind of Baruch made a gezerah, if the gezerah of the to destroy the base of Migdash. So that was a gezerah that was made. Now it's true that Kadosh Baruch Hu can change the gezerah, right? But so the question is, if the avenue of prayer was cut off, right? So this is what we mentioned there as well, that meaning it could be that the avenue of prayer was cut off, but meaning a person, the tears that a person was required to shed over the oncoming destruction, that could have been instead of the prayers. But see, that's a difficult thing to cry for something which hasn't happened yet is very, very difficult. To cry that something should be avoided is very difficult, because tears normally come, as we mentioned, the Maram at Prague mentions that the basic Yesod foundation of crying is based on a human reaction to something that's been lost, taken away from him. So when a person feels that loss, so that will usually bring forth tears. But if you still have the thing and you want to avoid it from being lost from you, so it's more difficult. That they're not natural tears. You have to work on eliciting those tears, and that's what could have averted the Beis Hamikdash being destroyed. Meaning it could have been done through tshuva and tzedakah. Tzedakah is to cry out. Crying out would have been perhaps effective where prayers would not have been effective, because prayers in and of themselves are not always so effective to change the gezerah. Once there's a gezerah has been made, and as it was made at the time of the Churban, actually 40 years before the Churban, there was a gezerah made 40 years before the Churban. So it was very difficult now for prayers to change that. It was beyond the point of prayers. It was now a time of need for tears and other ways of eliciting Hashem's mercies. That's probably that could be what's been discussed over here as well. Okay.
Sechi umaos to simeinu b'kerev ha'amim. So it means you made us filth and refuge among the nations.
I've got here, you made us offscouring and refuse in the midst of the people. What's offscouring? Is it an American term?
How do you spell that?
OFFSCOURING, one word.
I'm not sure.
Never heard of it. Must be British.
Have to check.
Probably something like he's just said.
So this is a general rule. When something falls from its level of virtue, it doesn't fall to the next level. It usually falls further levels than the next level. Meaning, let's put it this way: you have the five basic categories of things in existence. You have inanimate entities, which in Hebrew is called doimim, inanimate objects, doimim. Then you have sumeach, you have those things which are sumeach plants, plant life. Then they have the third level, you have bali chayim, you have the animal life. And then you have the fourth level, which is called in our way of understanding things, medaber. You have humans, which are medaber, they speak. And you have from that above beyond medaber, you have Klal Yisrael. So each one of these classes of entities has certain virtues that the others don't have. And they also have necessities which they have to fulfill, which the other ones don't have. For example, plants need to have, in order to exist, plants need to have sunlight and moisture, right? Whereas inanimate objects don't need to have necessarily warmth, sunlight, or moisture to exist. They exist just fine without having the necessity of, let's say, warmth and water. For a human being, right? For a human being to exist properly, he's a medaber, so he has to speak. He has to speak, right? Now, animals which are not medabrim, they are simply bali chayim, they don't have to speak. They can get along through their lives. They make noises and things like that. They do communicate in some ways, but without speech, a human being is handicapped, right? A person who doesn't speak is a handicapped person. An animal, bali chayim, without speaking, right? They're not considered to be handicapped. So you see from this that the virtue that class possesses, if it's lacking that virtue, it falls not simply down to the level behind before it, but it can fall to even lower levels. So here, Klal Yisrael, we lost our virtues, and again, our virtues is Torah, Tefillah, and Gemilas Chasadim. We have these three virtues, those are things which are necessary for our existence, right? The rest of the world, they don't need Torah, they don't need Avoda, they don't need Gemilas Chasadim to exist and to flourish in the physical world. The Klal Yisrael, without these things, even in a physical way, we lose these things, we lose our virtue, and we slip not just one level down to the state of being like the rest of the Amim. As this pasuk says, we fall into a state of filth and disgust. That we fall further than a person who can't speak, who is in ways he's handicapped. So without Torah, without Avodah, without Gemilas Chasadim, when Klal Yisrael is not just handicapped, it's completely bankrupt. The Klal Yisrael becomes completely bankrupt, become filth and disgust, as this pasuk is saying. So that's the necessity of us having Torah, Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim.
The definition of offscouring here is someone rejected by society, outcast, something that is scoured off, refuse.
Oh. Right. So that's take our most recent example, take the Holocaust, right? So the Jews, they thought the Jews who left Torah and mitzvahs, they thought they could embrace the non-Jewish way of life, and they thought the non-Jews would embrace them and welcome them with all the wonderful things they could do for their societies and their science and philosophy, all their arts and everything else like that. And we see what happened when we lost our Torah, we lost our Avodah, Gemilas Chasadim, when those large segments of Jewish people rejected the Torah, the Gemilas Chasadim, and Avodah. When we rejected that, and we rejected it in order to become closer to the non-Jews. So we saw that Hashem's reaction was, and through the reaction of the non-Jews, was the exact opposite. we were the downcast in the most filthy, disgusting things in their eyes that you can possibly imagine, right? So, so that's a perfect example of this this statement here.
Mhm.
Okay, let's continue on in the next passage.
Patu alenu pihem kol oivenu. Okay, so they jeered at us, our enemies. All I'm sorry, they jeered at us, all our enemies jeered at us. What is this word, pihem?
Their mouths, they opened their mouths,
Oh, they jeered at us with their mouths. Our enemies. Pachad v'fachas haya lanu hashes v'hashaver. Let's see, panic and pitiful were we.
I'm sorry. Here I've got the pit.
right?
The pit?
Yeah, right.
Pachad, isn't pachad fear?
Well, pocket is fear, right?
And then the fachas,
Pachas is a pit, right?
that's a pit. We feared the pit, and we were ravaged and ruined.
Right.
So my English says pitiful, so that's wrong. It's pit.
Right.
Hmm.
So I mean, these two psukim, you don't have to use your imagination too much to realize this was a prophecy which was fulfilled in our recent history. That not only were we were brought to the edge of the pits, and our enemies were jeering at us. There were eyewitness reports of how when the Jews were let out to be killed in the forests and the mass graves, that the not only the Germans, Hamak Shemam, but even the local peasantry were jeering, sneering at us on the way to our deaths. Again, all because we left Torah and mitzvahs. Yeah. Okay.
Palge mayim terad eni al shever bas ami. My tears, my eyes shed tears of water. At the shattering of my people. So that means they're crying. We're crying.
Well, this is Einai means, so to speak, Yirmi is speaking, so to speak. That he's crying over the destruction of his people.
Oh, it's just Yirmiyah. I thought we said before that when when it refers to Yirmiyah, it's referring to Yirmiyah and the Jewish people.
It could be as well. Could be as well. That's true. Yeah.
Eini nigra velo sid me me'ain hafugos. My eyes will flow and not cease without relief. Ad yashkif v'yeh Hashem mishamayim, until Hashem looks down and takes notice from heaven.
Now, what does that mean exactly? One second. Rashi says, okay, no, Rashi doesn't explain this particular pasuk. Second.
Seems like that we'll be crying and crying and crying and crying until Hashem takes notice.
Well, I mean, we know that Hashem notices everything all the time anyway, right?
Right, but he'll take notice from our point of view. From our point of view, we'll understand that Hashem has some sort of interest in it now that we are crying.
I would think that once it says that we're crying, the next thing it would say was, Hashem listened, saw our tears, and did something positive about it.
Depends on how we cry. Self-pity is one thing. Sorrow that we went astray is another thing. Another kind of crying.
Well, it says, my eyes shed streams of water at the shattering of my people.
Right.
So that doesn't sound like self-pity. That sounds like he's crying because of what's happening to the people.
Right, and that's why Hashem, so when he looks down, then it intimates it will stop when Hashem takes notice.
See, this expression Yishkov, right? Yishkov is a phrase which is used, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was used by Sodom. I'd have to take a look. And find maybe by the yeah, by Sodom. This expression was used by Sodom. It's an expression that's sometimes used, as it was there by Sodom, an expression which is used in terms of destruction. Is also used by the by the Yamsuf. The Kadosh Baruch Hu was Yashkuf Hashem al Machanei Mitzrayim, right? Which means also an expression which is used for destruction. So therefore, the Rav Bartanura, based on a Rashi, says that this is a prophecy that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was going to take notice. He's going to look down upon the non-Jews, the Goyim, and destroy them, and take vengeance for Klal Yisrael. But maybe we can continue that tomorrow. Maybe it'd be worthwhile to pick up with that point tomorrow. Yeah, I think so. It's almost 10 to 10. So let's take a break now, and we'll pick up with this pasuk Chamishim, pasuk Nun tomorrow as well.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Okay, Roy, hope to see you